everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Dance Talk Realness, a podcast where we discuss all nuances concerning education and dance, because a dance experience is an experience worth talking about. I'm your host, Truly B, and I'm here with my awesome, as always, co-host, Daryl P. Hey.
Hi.
And today we will be discussing summer dance programs, kind of our experiences with them, and giving some helpful tips for things to look for when you are trying to choose a program either for yourself or for a loved one. All right, so kicking it off to you, sir.
Yeah. So I thought of this just as a dance director instructor at a high school where we've done like dance camps, dance summer camps. It's always like this is that time of year where you would have already planned your summer camp, but now you are getting ready to go. And so I just thought about like what are some like things that I found interesting about them and good about them, and some things that I feel like I would have wanted more from them. From a standpoint of like an instructor and a teacher of a dance camp, I would say, in one of our old episodes, we talked about jobs that were kind of rough. And one of those rough jobs was a summer dance camp. And, this was done at a church. I was obviously still paid, so it wasn't like it was voluntary work or anything like that. But, it's always frustrating to me to teach people where there's no like they have no intrinsic value to like what they're getting if they don't really want to be there, right? Yeah. Like it's almost like an after school program, right? Like they're not getting graded for that. Like if you're not excited about a performance or excited about something that you're doing with the work, it's really hard to like motivate those kids, especially if it's children that are like between the ages of like 5 and like 8 years old. Because I think by the time you're 9, you're almost in like 4th or 5th grade. So there's some like interest in dance and movement that like, even if you're not doing like a performance at the end of this summer program or this summer camp, you can still enjoy the experience, right? And like of meeting new people. But I think that age of like 5 to 8, I don't know if I would put them in a dance summer. I don't know if I would do a summer program that wasn't like through something that they were already doing throughout the year. Like if they are part of a dance studio and that dance studio is offering a summer program, yes, definitely put them in that, because I think that's just going to be a continuation of what they've done throughout the year. It's going to be with most likely teachers that they already know, maybe a guest artist here and there. But for the most part, it's like getting you prepared for also the next year of dance at this studio. But I think if you were just like, it's the summertime, I'm going to put you in a program just so you can get out my house. I think that's where I feel like, I don't know. I don't have children, so I can't tell you, but I just feel like it seems like it's hard to really get a lot of enthusiasm out of those students for that to be their first experience with dance. As an adult, I've done some really awesome summer dance programs. I went to Bates 3 years ago. Yeah. I went to Bates 3 years ago for like a teacher summer program, but they also have like a young professionals. I guess, I don't know what the age group where that stops. I think it's like 20, it might be 18 or 21. I'm not sure. But they have people from everywhere, like internationally, nationally, that are at this program. You're taking like these intense 2-hour classes. Like there was one class, I took a hip hop class, and it could be a combination of the fact that we were in this large, this is this is Maine,
Mm-hmm.
the state of Maine. So it's like nobody has AC in any of these places. And so, we're working off of like these two big fans, right? But I would leave that class like I had walked in rain. But it was like, yeah. But it was like just really good. It was good material that I was learning. I felt like I was challenged in every class. I really recommend for anyone listening and like have ever thought about Bates, or right now they're still virtual. They're going to be virtual this summer, and I think their registration is already over. But these are things I would say, even though it's like summer 2022 is literally a year away, but these are also the times to start to think about them, because a lot of these summer programs will start offering scholarships, as early as like October, November, and their registrations start to even close around February, March. So if you're thinking about, what I like as a professional or as an adult, what I want to do over the summer, I think, always thinking a little bit ahead of like what you want to do for next summer, especially since next summer will probably be when a lot of these summer programs will be back in person and a little bit more like what they were prior to COVID. So, I don't know, like what are your takes on summer programs? And
I think going back to that idea, like the little people, and that being their first intro to it, I think if it is something attached to a studio and you're trying to see if you want to spend that money going into the next full season, that could be a good way to test the waters. But if it's a program that's not associated with a studio, I think I agree very much so that I would not waste that money and time, especially if like this is, like you said, like their introduction to it. With how much a lot of these programs cost, I'm gonna need to know that you're gonna really actually be dancing. And even for the ones who are in a studio, unless it is like that amazing kid who's like always on top of it, they always want to be in class, they're always ready to go. If they're like that wishy-washy student, sometimes I'm like that is not what you want to do for the summer. And I think one of the differences that people don't make often is talking about the difference between a studio run summer program and one that may be run by a dance company. And it's not even a question of, well, no, for some places it is a question of quality, but I'm trying not to be shady today. So I will forever just use the studio my kids go to as an example. So if I'm looking between summer session offered at Dance Dimensions, or I'm looking at something offered by Ailey, the question of quality doesn't come up for me because I know whichever place they're going to, high quality. So I'm like, I can take that off the table because I know I don't have to worry. But there will be a different type of intense happening at Ailey that is allowed to happen there, that I would argue studios can only push but so much before you have parents up in arms, showing up, always having to run their mouth like they know anything about the field when they clearly do not. You can tell I'm the parent that other parents don't talk to because I'm like, but the teachers are right though. Right. I was like, why would you ask me? The teachers are right though. Yeah. But there's a very clear difference between how those two types of programs have to run, how they are allowed to run. And so I would say even now, my kids have been dancing for years. I would, because of their commitment level, I would send them to the studio. I'm not paying to send you to New York, and I'm not paying to send you to California to do something with lines. Like, I'm not paying that money because I know my kids. You're going to be in a mood one day and not feel like it. And I'm going to have to travel and beat your whole ass because you're going to feel like it for this amount of money. You're going to feel like it every day. I don't care. Right. Whereas studio wise, it's not that all encompassing feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's that feeling of, okay, I know I have classes from this time to this time, but then I'm going home. And for a lot of the other programs, like you're sending the dancer away somewhere. And it's like, even when you're not in class, you're still not home. So I think there's that to take into consideration.
Yeah.
And again, though, my kids are older. And so those are conversations that I'm like, okay, seen them in dance for a while. I know how they are. I know what they respond to. I know if they would do well at this one versus this one. But yeah, no, them babies though. I'm like, they small. And I don't even know that anyone offers anything you can send them away to. I would have sent my kids away. But
yeah. Well, even this program that I went to that I taught was an entire, I mean, it was one day a week or twice a week for almost the entire summer, from like end of June to the beginning of August.
Yeah.
That is a long
program.
Time.
That's a long time.
Like, I would rather just it be a week or 2 week thing every day and be done than for that to be stretched out. Because I mean, it's almost like we think when, like, we always have this argument at school because, you know, we're on that block scheduling. And so it's like, you know, some people argue, like, if I could see my students for 50 minutes every day, I feel like there's more that they could retain and hold on to than seeing them every other day, you know, in the old way, you know, twice some days, 3 times the other week. So
yeah,
that seems so foreign now that I think about it, how we used to do the opposite. And like Mondays would be an A day or a B day, depending on. Yeah, I know.
No, it's like I have, you know, there have been times where I've been like, no, I'm cool with this every other day. I'm cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to see y'all every day. It's fine. But then like those classes where I'm like, oh, we could get so much more done if I could see you. And I'm constantly reinforcing these things instead of you have a whole 48 hours before you're going to be back. Right. And I know you're thinking about whatever you have to do that next day. I know you're not thinking about this. And so it's like, there's a lot of having to like rehash things. So summer wise, I would say, yeah, I think at least for me personally, I would much rather like we do a week or two, just like intense.
Bang it. Yeah. Get it out. And just,
then have the summer. As a parent, so like take them every day. Of all the weeks for the whole summer. Take these kids, feed them while they are there.
Right.
Please. But it's also not fair to the kids in a way. Because it's like, dude, that's summer break. Like, let them babies have some of the summer.
Right. Let me stay at home and sleep in and watch TV and
just a little bit. Like
just a little bit.
Not the whole summer, because I'm like, y'all got to go somewhere, but
yeah.
To not, like you were saying, like for it to be June all the way up into August, and then they about to go right back to school, they never genuinely, even if they really did enjoy it, they never had an actual break. Right. And that's not fair. Like that's not a healthy precedent to set, especially as they get older and they can start making those choices for themselves. We don't want to be teaching them that, oh, well, stay busy. It's like, you know what? No, you worked hard. Like you deserve a break. You deserve to sleep in. Yeah. Like just have some time. Like, yes, you'll still be getting some intensive training because there are skills we want you to be able to keep up so we can carry it over into the next season. But that idea of just never having a break, like as an adult who never has a break, this is trash. And I'm like, I want my kids to not feel like this.
Right. Yeah. And I agree. And I think, you know, like, I think the idea of more of the summer intensives, right. Than the I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe obviously, you know, these programs have been around, and we've been calling them programs for so long, and they've been around, and so obviously people go to them and they pay for them, and people enjoy them. But I think the idea of more of an intensive, like when we took kids to like dance camp for like dance team, that was like maybe 3 or 4 days, maybe 3. And, they were dancing constantly those 3 or 4 days. But there was a lot of team building happening. There was a lot of still some fun stuff that they got to do. So it was still a good, like, going off to summer camp, right? Like it was still a really good experience. I just think, yeah, you're right. When it is that whole summer, like you don't give those kids a break from, like, that's how you burn them out, right? Like, and at that point, you do 4 or 5 years of that back to back where you're dancing all year. You're doing a summer program for, 2 out of the 3 months of summer. But it's a whole summer if you take, give or take, like spreading it out throughout the weeks. You don't really get a whole, you don't even get a time off from that. So you said to mention, ways to find a good summer
yes
program.
So, and again, this is coming from a dance educator. Like and I will say my kids have had that advantage in the sense of I know how to actually vet programs and really see if they about the business. And I know everyone's not as fortunate, and because clearly people be keeping their lights on all the time, so folks are going. So I think some of the things that I look for, because I only allow my kids to go to high quality places. It's how I am. It's who I am. We don't do basic. So things I look for is not only variety in options, but the faculty teaching. It is, I think it's pretty rare now to come across studios where they don't have the faculty bios up. At least all the ones that I've seen, everyone has a bio. Just a nice little picture bio. And so I go through and I check bios, and I'm like, what have you done? Where have you trained? What do you know? Are you teaching in your pocket, or are you just doing kind of catch all and they just got you watching bodies in the room? Right. And so I will say one of the big differences, this was actually a conversation that happened at the university, and I'm like, I might have to say this to somebody. When looking at the bios, yes, big names are great to see. Yes, everyone knows that, like, that's one way that people pull in money is by having like a big name. Big name people can't always teach. We've discussed this before.
We have, yes.
So when looking at the bios, I'm not only looking at, well, what names do you have? Like, for example, if they had Quinn up there, which they do, I'm not just looking at, oh, well, like she's co-founder of Soul Defined. She's done this and this and this. Yes, I'm sending my kids there. I'm like, okay, but have you done anything educationally? Of which she has done a whole lot educationally. Right. Yeah. And so it's like, but also when I look at, let's say, I'm trying to think of my kids' teachers, like they've moved up. So now they have like the teachers who are like legit like performing, and I'm trying to pull one of the ones who I haven't seen that on theirs. Can't think of one. So let me tell you, they got some dancing folks up in that studio. But if, let's say, one, okay, I'm gonna use Elena. So, well, she's amazing. So this is not a good example, but it's the closest I'm gonna get right now. Yeah. When I see her bio, it doesn't read the way Quinn's does. Right. But still extremely high quality. And so I'm like, okay, do you only have like one or two big name people, or can I look across the breadth of all of your faculty and see that people know their shit? Can I see that? And if I can see that, then I'm like, okay, we're heading in a good direction.
Yeah, definitely.
Cost is always a thing. Because money be getting spent on dance. And so looking at the the cost of the program against how many hours, how many things that they'll be able to really get from it, and seeing if that's like a good match.
Mm-hmm.
Something that a lot of people don't do, and they should do more of, is talk to your child.
Mm-hmm.
Do they want to do this?
Right. Yeah.
Because
Yes.
if they don't do it. Like, just,
Mm-mm.
it doesn't matter who is working at that thing. If they don't really want to be there, all they're going to do is be miserable and probably make a bunch of other people miserable with them.
Like that teacher that's making that little bit of change to teach that summer.
Because let me be clear, no one is making enough money to deal with your stank ass child who don't want to be there in the first place. Don't do that.
Summertime. No.
Not in the summer. Like, no one's making enough money to deal with that. And again, this is why there have been times that my kids have not gone over the summer, because I'm like, well, y'all too been somewhere. But I'm like, I'm not even about to send you up in here. First of all, I need you to be able to go back in the fall. So I'm not even going to send you this summer. Like, I'm going to let you just decompress for a couple months, get this foolishness out your system. So when it's time to go back, you're like, okay, I'm ready to do this again. Like, you don't want to, like we were saying, like, you don't want to burn them out. So listen to them. If it's if your child is into just one form, try to gear your search towards places that either preferably specialize in that, or at least have some solid offerings there. Initially, the princess was all about ballet. I was like, you ain't get that from me, but she was about it. And so I looked specifically at programs that's their specialty. Yes, they may offer something else, but specialty is this. So that's how she ended up at Maryland Youth Ballet initially.
Yeah.
Now her thing is tap. And so I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna need you to stay somewhere where I know that is something that you're going to get high quality training in, even though, yes, you'll still be taking ballet, you'll still be taking jazz, you'll still be taking Horton. Like, yeah, that's great. I love it. I'm here for it. But I know your thing is tap. So I need to be very confident in who's teaching that and that is up to par. And I think those are the main things I look at. Cost is usually the first thing I look at, though.
Right.
I'm like, 2 kids going? I'm like, the people who be having a bunch of kids going to these things, I've been like, God bless you and your pocketbook. Where you work? I need to work with you. Clearly, education wasn't the right decision. I was trying to make money. Clearly not, because...
Clearly not. No.
So, you have any other things that you would add to that list for people searching?
No, I think that's great. I never even thought about the bio. Even like, looking at like when I went to Bates, right? Like, I went thinking just because of the names or the name Bates, right? And like what that whole festival meant, workshop meant in the dance world. I was like, yes, that's it. But every year they always change their faculty. And I didn't even think to like, is this the year I should go, depending on the faculty that they have. But I mean, like I said, I went and it was so great. But I love that, looking at the faculty. I think, summer program, when they start in the fall, like looking at like, what does the studio offer, who's teaching, and, and even thinking about Elena too, like, and thinking about Quinn, like these are also teachers that are great in their, because they both definitely have a content that they are like, that we know them for. But they can also do so much more, right? Yes. And it's like that, to me, also just tells you that the faculty is strong. Like, you're not just you're getting somebody that's gonna educate you in ballet. She's gonna educate you. She's gonna give you some type of like life wisdom through that through that class. Yes. You're gonna know something about your body. Like you're gonna get so much more than a 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yes.
And I think that's those are very good qualities.
And that is a benefit of us knowing what to look for, because some people only know to look for, we're going to get this 5, 6, 7, 8. They're going to get my child's leg up to their ear. And I'm like, but is my baby on her leg though? Is my baby turned out? Can my baby maintain that turnout? Like what these arms look like? Are you supporting your arms from your back, or are you just muscling through this? And so unfair advantage from us that we're like, yeah, no, we know what to look for because we do this thing. Yeah. But like you said, like to know that whoever is teaching is able to bring more than just get my child through these movements. Because let me tell you, the princess is taking point with Elena. And so, you know, of course, like some of the courses like they're doing at home, like they're doing alternating weeks now. And so I just be listening. I'm like, they be getting whole lectures sometime. And I'm like, I am weak. But also, y'all are getting some information that I didn't get until undergrad. You better absorb, like enjoy this. The same with Quinn, that they be having whole history lessons. I'm like, you better speak. Yes. Yeah. And so that's setting them up that when they take classes later in life, when they go on to college, whether they're majoring in dance or not, whether they're deciding to be a performer or work backstage, like no matter what they're planning on doing, they have some knowledge that a lot of their cohort and their colleagues will not have. And I'm like, I love it. And I am in full support. 100%.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. We hope that this helped you guys make some decisions, give you a few things just to think about while you're looking at programs. Get on top of it because it is May. So anyone who is still accepting anything, you're going to want to go ahead and get in before those last few spots are filled. But if you have any suggestions for us, any questions or any of those things, feel free to drop us a line. Make sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe, all those things, all that jazz across all the platforms, wherever you can find us. And we look forward to bringing some fresh new content next week. We'll see you then. Bye.